It's the VMX show, season 6. Oh, for Christ's sake.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the VMX show. It's season 6, episode 12. This is the season finale for the year. So that's the end of that. Before I even get started with anything, let me talk about, since the season is ending, and I know a lot of you guys will probably be asking me, so when's season 7? Well, I'm going to be taking kind of a longer break from VMX show than I usually do. We'll be starting season 7 in January. And the reason that it's going to be so long of a break, well, there's a few reasons. But part of it is so that I could get my other feature, the Gamer's Encyclopedia, off the ground. It's been sort of dragging, and I'm going to tell you why. Basically, I had started work on it, and I got some really good progress done, but then I realized that Halloween is looming, and I needed to work on the next 10 days feature, which I have been working on, and I'm about halfway through that. And that'll be up in time for October 21st through 31st. Actually, no. I think 22nd through 31st. So that's 10 days. So 10 Days of Hauntings coming out. Gamer's Encyclopedia. I'd like to really have more time to work on that. Plus I had been very, very busy with Kazareth Studios stuff recently, so there is that as well. But let's get to your questions and comments, and then we'll do the news. I also have a guest this week, so that's pretty cool. Young fellow from Guatemala decided to come by on the VMX show, so we'll have him on later. But for now, let's get to your questions and comments. So let's see. Somebody named True Pixel Simulation said, "Did I win?" What the fuck are you talking about? No, you lost. And then he posted another thing. He says, "Can I do this with you most times I'm on?" All right. I give up. I really do. I've said every episode I say the same thing. If you want to be on the VMX show, get on Skype, or if you don't have Skype, get Skype, add me, and talk to me on there. That's the only way that it will happen. No other way. Moving on. Alright, let's see. I'm skipping past this bit of idiocy. Let's see. Fishman123451 says, this sounds like fun, okay? And then he asks me how I feel about Bioshock. Great series. I love Bioshock. So there you go. Johnstone New 1985 says, "This is the best podcast I ever heard, Necro." Put too many E's in there, but that's cool. And thank you very much. And he has two numbered questions. Number 1, DC Aquaman versus Mega Man 8 Aquaman. Who wins? Oh, well, that's that's a 5-second battle. Of course the DC Aquaman wins. He sticks the trident straight through him and then smashes him onto the ground, and then it's over. And then he asks me if I like McDonald's. Do you like McDonald's? Yeah, I think everybody likes McDonald's at one point or another. It's not exactly something that I would eat like all the time, but I do enjoy a little bit of McDonald's from time to time. Then he says, "I LOL the music part with you, Necro. Lol." Alright, I'm just going to move on. Oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the same thing the next person's talking about. You just got to be a little more clear. Uber McPhailsaw says, I lolled at your response to that question about Eminem. Just thinking about that makes me laugh again. WWE blah 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 says, "Hey NecroVMX, good show as always. My first question is, do you like Insane Clown Posse?" No, of course not. They're terrible. Are you kidding me? Why am I getting questions like this? And my second question is, do you like Epic Mealtime on YouTube? They're crazy as fuck with the foods. Yeah, I do enjoy Epic Mealtime. It gets a little gross, but it's funny. They're very funny. I like the shtick that they're doing. I usually skip the part where they're actually eating the food at the end because that grosses me out. But I like to watch them make it, and they do have some interesting ideas that if you scale it down to human portions, it would be pretty good. Let's see. 10 go to das las GC, I think. He says, "Necro, what do you think of the Kingdom Hearts series? I finished the 3DS game a few days ago, and I think it's time to see Kingdom Hearts 3. I love the games, but is more and more confusing. Thanks for read my question, and good show as always. Saludos from Mexico." Okay, I've never actually played any of the Kingdom Hearts other than like the first one, and that was only like a little bit, and it seemed alright. I just never really got into the series. Kingdom Hearts 3, it's sort of like Half-Life 3, kind of a mythical thing, eternally on the horizon. So there you go. Hung Ping Mike says, "Please don't call me a Nimrod." No, you're a Nimrod. I remember your comment from last year. Last year, listen to me, last episode. I would say last week, but I actually skipped a week. Alright, Shanked Zombie, if that's the same guy, I think it is. Shanked Zombie says, 2108, finally someone agrees. Alright, I don't know what I said there. How much do you like Half-Life? 0, I don't like Half-Life. Also, how do you spell that one MMO that you played like 12 years ago, since it sounded something like Graal? Oh, Graal, Graal. I don't even know if it's still around. As a matter of fact, I think it is still around, but it's so completely different from what it was that it's not even worth looking at. You mentioned in your NecroVMX in person and online games videos. Yeah. Also, did you use the Bleem emulator for PlayStation back in the 90s? No, I didn't. I never used Bleem. A great show as always, Necro. GR. I think that last part might have been a typo. So there you go. Then he posts again. Yeah. Sorry about the GR I left in the comment. All right. Nahu Video says, "Hi Necro, good show as always. I have one doubt. What are you talking about? Doubt? When will the Gamers Encyclopedia start? Sorry if I spelled it wrong. No, you spelled it right. Soon. I can't tell you when because I don't know when, but I'm working on it." Shodate says, "Hey Necro, question. After you done with your Dragon Quest playthrough thoughts," okay, I know this guy's Japanese, so I forgive the spelling, but come on, man. Could you do a Dragon Slayer playthrough? No. I'm not gonna do Dragon Slayer. Really, because I have no way of playing it. It was released for Japanese PCs, which I don't have, and they might be emulated, but I'm not going through all those problems. No way. Sorry. Moonlight Shadow 1230 says, "Thanks for taking my request. What is your opinion on My Little Pony Friendship is I don't have an opinion because I don't watch shows for little girls. Sorry. Moving on. Dominic Boucher says, "Hey Necro, I have a question. Do you think the current way survival horror is bad?" Do I think the current way survival is bad? I think there's a missing word in there. I mean, I've seen many companies just rely on jump scares and startles. Do you like that or hate it? I'm completely ambivalent to it. I never really got into the whole survival horror thing, to be honest. Some of the games are fun, but they're not scary. They never were to me. I've never played a game that was really scary, maybe a little creepy, but that's as far as it gets. And that would be like Silent Hill, Honestly, I don't care. I actually think like the vanguard of the survival horror genre has really been Resident Evil. They didn't start it, but they did popularize it. And obviously, there's been 5 of them and many assorted spin-offs, and they're coming out with the 6th one. And a lot of people are complaining that ever since the 4th one and the gameplay change and whatnot, and especially 5 and now 6, that it's a lot more action than survival horror. But personally, I think that makes it a lot more fun. So there you go. Moving on. XX Bro Buzz XX says, "Great episode again, Necro. Anyway, that question about you owning every game console got me thinking, what really qualifies as a game system in your opinion? Do you count individual arcade cabinets, Pong consoles, plug-and-play systems, all that other miscellaneous crap, or just the major consoles from Odyssey to the PS3? Well, no, I don't count those because the definition for me to be a game console means that you have to be able to buy games for it and then put the games into it to play them, basically. It's a machine for playing video games, not like an arcade system, which is a dedicated system to play one game. That's a completely different architecture and the way it's set up and everything. So there you have it. Let's see. Let's move on. Kick-Ass 61311. Seeing a lot of new names here, which is cool. Hey, Nick, I have 2 questions for you. First, what do you think about the Halo series? And second, what is your favorite Nintendo console? And by the way, I love your videos. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you. Favorite Nintendo console is the GameCube. The Halo series I don't care for because I think that they're mediocre, really. I think they got a little better as they went along, but started off really bad, and that sort of just turned me off to the whole thing. I played the first two. The second one, like, for only a few minutes, just wanted to try it out, and I didn't like it. The first one also not for a very long time, longer than a few minutes, but the level design was atrocious, just awful. So there you go. Not a fan of the Halo series. XX Bro Buzz XX returns and says, ran out of space for my first comment. Okay. Also, I think I read somewhere that the reason Saturn games don't get ported to services like PSN is because Sega lost the source code for a lot of Saturn games, and Saturn emulation is a bitch from what I heard. Sega wouldn't have the source code. The developers would have the source code. So there you have it. Zombie Ryushu says, on the topic of... Oh, actually, wait, I want to go back to that. I think the reason that you don't see him is because there's not as much demand for it. Alright, Zombie Ryushu says, on the topic of emulation, have you ever attempted to emulate obscure computer systems like the Sharp X68000 or FM Towns Marty? I've done X68000 games on the channel. Never FM Towns Marty. Additionally, have you compared SNES to Genesis ports with Amiga games? No, because I have no interest in the Amiga whatsoever. So there you go. IceGate25 says, what is your favorite cartoon as a kid? I love your shows. Favorite cartoon as a kid? Well, you know what? The answer is the same for now. It's The Simpsons. The Simpsons started I was 9 years old. Actually, it was a little earlier because I remember seeing it on the Tracy Ullman show. So there you have it. Moving on. No One Too Special has a bunch of numbered questions. Hey, Necro, a few questions. Number one. I know you're a fan of RPGs. How do you feel about real-time RPGs? And on that note, do you think Square Enix should make a real-time Final Fantasy game? I'm not really sure what you mean by real-time RPGs. Usually when people say real-time, they're just referring to a combat system. You know, real-time... I'm thinking like almost like real-time strategy games. Real-time Final Fantasy, I really don't know what you mean. The Final Fantasy games from 4 through 9 and then also 13 are real-time because they use the ATB and that everything doesn't pause for you when you do your thing. So there is that. I really don't know what you mean, though. I think you're using the wrong term there. Number 2, have you played any game in the Harvest Moon series or its spin-off Rune Factory? If so, your thoughts. I played the original Harvest Moon on Super NES for a little while, and I got bored with it. It's not really my thing. My girlfriend Julie is a huge Harvest Moon person. She loves that series, so there you go. Number 3, in your own opinion, what was or is the best box art for a game? On that note, what was the best collection goodies a game has offered? The collection goodies I so don't care about, really. They're usually, not anything amazing. I did like getting the art book with Xenoblade Chronicles, so that was pretty cool. But really, I just usually don't give a shit. I like the maps that come with the Elder Scrolls games, but most part, like I couldn't care less. Best box art, that's a toughie because I could probably name like 10 or 15 of them that I really like. But I really like the Japanese version of Ico's box art, the European version of Resident Evil 4's box art. I thought Ikaruga had a really cool box. The Elder Scrolls games from Morrowind onward, I thought those were really cool and iconic. Just off the top of my head, those are a few that I really like. And number 4, up to this point, what was your favorite game console? You know what? Earlier I said my favorite Nintendo console was the GameCube. I wasn't really thinking then. Actually... Well, okay, you're asking me favorite, so it's still the GameCube. Best would be Super NES. There's no question there. Elongated Flash has 2 questions. Number 1, ass or tits? Definitely tits. And number 2, do you like Futurama? Yeah, of course. Futurama is a great show. Jahans, or maybe it's Jahans164 says, hey, Nick, I have 2 questions for you. Number 1, do you enjoy the Metal Gear series? No, I do not. Number 2, do you like the Kingdom Hearts series? Well, I kind of talked about that. I haven't really played them. I played the first one. It was fine. It didn't suck. I just didn't really get sucked in. Keep up the good work, Nick Earl. Thank you. Skate Legend 14 says, number 1, do you get drunk a lot? No, not really. As a matter of fact, this was the last time I actually drank. It's like a year and a half ago at least. So there you go. And number 2, do you like the Kingdom Hearts series? No, I'm like, again? No, all right. I was reading the wrong one. Number 2, if you were a Nintendo 64 game, what would you want played in... Wait, hold on. I read that wrong, and it doesn't make sense. If you were a Nintendo 64... There should be a comma there. That's what was throwing me off. What game would you want played in you the most? That is a non-sexual question. That is a stupid question. I'm sorry, but that's dumb as hell. I'm going to move on. He also posted this random comment where he said, also, of course, it's lame. It's the fucking Super Friends. There's no context to that. I have no idea what you're talking about, so I'm just going to move on. Lugnow posts, hey Necro, cool show as always, well, thank you. You probably talked about this, but what do you think of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle trailer? I haven't seen it actually, because I've talked about it in the news, but I don't have that much interest in it. I am hyped. JoJo is my favorite manga/comic of all time, and having all the characters from the different parts in it is pretty much my dream game made into reality. Tidbit, the logo at the end shows that JoJo Part 8 is also included. Alright. Just so you know, the game has been announced, blah, blah, blah. Alright, whatever. He has posted another thing. Also, what do you think of Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City? All the critics seem to detest it. I can't get enough of it, and YouTube's user reviews generally say it's really sweet. I haven't played it. I believe that's the first-person shooter where you're fighting against the stars, I think. I don't know. I haven't played it, so I couldn't give you an opinion on that. Metal Knee 1 says, I like you because I guess you're not afraid to tell someone to fuck off when they need to fuck off. You are not a pussy. Damn straight. Do you think that video games are going to Alright, I gotta slow down here. Do you think that video games are getting too big for their own good? I mean, it used to be simple, and now you always have to upgrade your PC to play a new game. No, that's not new. It was always you had to upgrade PCs to play new games, or you could just get a console. So there you go. Mysterious Video Game says, what do you think about The Legend of Zelda? It used to be my favorite series. It's diminished in my eyes quite a bit recently. I've talked about this extensively, so I'm not going to go into it too much. Really, I just think it's not as good as it used to be, but I still think it's a great series. Red Devil Dazzy 2007 says, good episode, Necro. I enjoy this one. Okay. 666ified says, I've only started watching the series at this point, so I'm sorry if this has been asked already. I've watched your Urban Legends of Games and Clear and Confusion. Now I have to ask, why did you get so many idiots on those videos? Well, whatever. Why do I get the idiots? Why is water wet? It's YouTube. That happens. Those videos are significantly more popular, so you get a larger slice of the pie, and you get more good comments, you get more bad comments. You tend to see the bad comments because I do like to reply to them and tell them to fuck off and whatnot, so they get pushed to the top of the thing. But I get a lot of great comments on those videos too. So there you go. Moving on. Lamia Eternity says, awesome show, Necro. My question is about Steam and the community, specifically Greenlight. I've been looking through a ton of games submitted on there. By the way, I upvoted Codal earlier. Thank you. And been seeing so many trolls. One of the more common troll tactics on many of the games listed there is that they say retro or pixel art graphics are just excuses for bad graphics. Do you think morons like that are just idiots, or do you think they're products of this new ultra graphics generation? The first one, I think they're idiots. I think that the trolling, if you've noticed, and obviously I have a lot to do with Steam Greenlight because Chronicles of Dark Lord is on there. By the way, please upvote it, everybody that has Steam. I've seen a lot of it, and it's basically Greenlight was new. Everybody was getting trolled, not just the retro games, but everybody was getting trolled. And now it's died down because it was a new thing. It was a new venue for trolls, and they just wanted to hit it hard and fast, and they did. And it sort of died down since then. We really don't get those sort of comments anymore, very rarely. I just think that they were just looking to vent themselves on Steam Greenlight. You know what I mean? And they just had to come up with something bad to say about everything. So there you have it. The Emperor of Nothing says, always been a huge fan of the series, Necro. Love your stuff. My question's about what goes on behind the scenes during game development. Since you're on a development team, I figure, why not ask? As customers, we don't get to see the amount of work poured into each project, obviously, and a lot of people view games like Cthulhu Saves the World and Chronicles of a Dark Lord as simple to make games. What is your take on that? Do you think customers take a developer's work for granted? Absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely, definitely. People think, Chronicles of Dark Lord was made in VMX, which is an RPG maker, and people think, well, that makes it easy. It certainly doesn't. Unless you want to make an extremely generic thing using, just what they give you. And let me tell you something, because I've heard people say, oh, well, if you use an RPG maker, that's not real game design. Let me tell you, when you're making a game, when you're making an RPG especially, the first thing you do is make an engine. And basically, what you would do is you would have a programmer make an RPG maker for you, and then the designers would step in and actually design the game using the engine. See, people don't realize the difference between programming and designing. Programming is making the engine, and basically making the engine is so that designers who are not programmers, who don't do C++ or anything like that, so that they can make the game. So they're two separate things. Wanted to tell you about that first. Secondary to that, even if you to make a game like Chronicles of Dark Lord, you couldn't download VMX and just make Chronicles of Dark Lord. The engine has been heavily modified. There was programming involved. Tanya had learned the Ruby language. As a matter of fact, not too long ago, she said to me that she has gotten so proficient at Ruby coding that she could make an RPG Maker engine, which is basically meaning that she could program and design a game. So, so it's using those engines is basically just skipping a step. It lets you skip to the design step. Although if you want to make something good, you still have to do some programming and custom scripting and whatnot, which is a lot of what we've done. The engine is that we've created is a bit unrecognizable to the original VMX, but like I said, the first thing that the programmers are going to do is create the engine. As a matter of fact, if you're using an existing engine, then there's very little programming involved anyway. Like, for example, the Unreal Engine is really popular with modern games because it's great, but the Unreal Engine, it's an engine already. You don't have to do any programming. You know what I mean? It's all visual. So it lets people just skip right to the design aspect of it. So I just wanted to throw that out there. My customers definitely do take developers' work for granted. It's true. Let's see. Gamer Eternal 777 says, "Great show as always, Necro. I'm curious as to whether Kazarth Studios will be introducing any 3D into future games. Not that I don't love the 2D style, because I do, but I'm just curious to see if it will happen sometime in the future." It absolutely will. As for when, I couldn't tell you, but it absolutely will. We do have plans to use 3D. High 11 Gamer says, "Necro, I was going through some of my old stuff and found Castlevania Bloodlines for Sega Genesis in the box with the book. Is that rare at all?" I doubt it. Oh, I recommend the Wu-Tang Clan for rap music. Do, re, woo. You guys keep recommending the most generic, mainstream bullshit. At least that's better than the other one who said Insane Clown Posse. Come on, seriously? No. I don't listen to a lot of rap and hip-hop because it's not exactly my style, but when I do, it tends to be way off the beaten track. Way off the beaten track. Just to let you know. I don't need recommendations, though, especially if it's what everybody's already heard. You know what I mean? I've heard it. I know what the Wu-Tang Clan is. As for Castlevania Bloodlines, let's see. Well, there are several guides out there that'll tell you how rare a game is, and when it has the box and the inserts and everything, that's called, in the parlance of game collecting, it's called complete. It's difficult to really tell. The best thing to do is to go on eBay and type in the name of the game and the word complete, and then see what kind of prices it's going for. Now, I have eBay up in front of me, and Castlevania Bloodlines complete, I see one for $51, I see one for $40, which says very rare, but you can't always take their word for it. I see $57, I see $50, I see one $162. Oh, that's the PAL version, that's why it's more. And that's all there is. So it's worth about $50 to $60, basically. Genesis games are not going to be worth as much as, we'll say, Super NES or NES games complete, and I'll tell you why. It's because the Genesis the boxes were also the protective cases, and they had those really cool plastic boxes that you could just keep, whereas the Super NES, for example, used the cardboard boxes that most people threw out, making it much rarer for people to actually keep the box, which is why any boxed Super NES game is a commodity, whereas boxed Genesis games are way more common because a lot of people kept the boxes because they had that cool little snap-on thing. That was the one thing that Sega definitely did way better in that sense when it comes to the Genesis. But yeah, it's worth about $50 to $60. I'm not recommending you sell it. I would say keep it, personally. But there you have it. Hope that answers your question. Anyway, let's move along. Let's see. Departe says, you were my hero. Okay. Thanks, I think. Moving on, Alex Shannon says, in your opinion, what are the best PlayStation games? Sorry about the technical questions last episode. I'm fairly technical-minded and like to take apart all the pros and cons of media formats. If you need a guest, I'm happy to help you out if you wish. I've said what you have to do that. And also, favorite PlayStation 2 games. All right, let me answer. Best PlayStation... I don't want to sit here and list like my top 10. I don't really want to go into that. I told you guys stop asking me questions like that. My favorite PlayStation 1 game is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Favorite PlayStation 2 game? Dragon Quest VIII. There you go. Also, he says, what do you think would happen if Sega hadn't been crushed by the PS2? In my humble opinion, the DualShock controllers are small and cramped. Your opinions? No, I like the DualShock controllers. I think they need to come up with something new now, but there you go. Call of Duty seems to be popular, but I think it's overrated. What's your opinion? I like Call of Duty. I don't play the multiplayer, and that's what is the overrated part, and that everybody buys it for. I really like the campaigns and the stories and whatnot. I think I was just saying it's kind of a shame because they put a lot of work into the campaigns and the stories, and then so few people actually comment on it. All they care about is the multiplayer. And that's where nothing changes. That's where it's the same thing over and over again. But if you actually play the single-player mode, it's quite innovative. Let's see. The Last Samurai 14 says, hey, Necro, great show as always. I just wanted to say that I'm extremely excited for Kotal to be on Steam Greenlight. I've already told all my friends to upvote the game and spread the word. Well, thank you. Hope we'll finally make the jump to Steam that it deserves. Well, we all hope it'll get on Steam. They've started to accept games. 10 games have been greenlit so far, so we'll see what happens. Tractor Man 287 says, what do you think of the Irate Gamer? He's a tool. What can I say? I mean, he's not funny. He doesn't say anything original, and I don't bother with him. So there you go. Jackie DK says, Necro, I have 3 questions. Number 1, what is your favorite thing about Mega Man? The fact that there used to be Mega Man games. Number 2, who is your favorite Mega Man character? I never really thought about that too much. I guess it would be Mega Man. I mean, yeah. And number 3, have you ever played a hacked game? Yeah, I think everybody has at one point or another. I have. I've even done a few not necessarily hack games, but actually I have done a few hack games on the channel. I did a few Super Mario World hacks that people have. I only do those if the person who make them asked me to do it, and I haven't played a good one on the channel yet. Let's see. Let's move on. Dark Hill Pick 28 says, I've got 2 questions. Number 1, are you a fan of the Jackass guys from MTV? Absolutely not. They are knobs. And number 2, if you're planning to create a limited series based on your idea, what would it be about, and which current artist would you like to collaborate with fantasy-wise? What are you talking about? A limited series? Like, what are you talking about? Dude, I have no idea what you're asking me. Thanks for answering my questions. Well, I was only able to answer one of them because the second one doesn't make any sense. And I'll be around for next season. We'll see you then. Nettlebox says, this was a great season of the VMX show. I really enjoyed it. Well, thank you. I have a few horror movie related questions, and he has 4 of them. Let's see. Number 1, what is your favorite horror movie from the 80s? Oh, the 80s. The 80s. That's interesting. That's Gonna have to probably give it up for Day of the Dead, off the top of my head anyway. Number 2, what do you think is the goriest horror movie ever made? It seems Peter Jackson's Brain Dead has held that title for nearly 20 years now. Well, that's what I was gonna say. I think it's also called Dead Alive, but it is just gross. It's just non-stop, ultra gore. If you like that kind of stuff, it's pretty cool, but if you don't, it could make you very squeamish. Number 3, do you have a favorite horror film inspired by a true story? Well, the thing is, when they say inspired by a true story, it's usually bullshit. Like, for example, I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They say, oh, it's based on a true story, inspired by a true story, whatever. Not really, no. I mean, there were some elements of Leatherface that were borrowed from real-life serial killers, But, the actual idea for it came when Toby Hooper was at I think it might have been a Walmart or something. He was at some sort of mega store, and there were all these people, and he thought, a good way to get through the crowd would be if he had a chainsaw. And that's where the idea came from. So there you go. But most of all, that's bullshit. So I don't know about that. But I'll throw Texas Chainsaw Massacre out there as the answer anyway, because they do claim it's inspired by a true story, even though it's not. And number 4, hypothetically, what the hell does Freddy Krueger do when none of the kids are sleeping? Well, I guess he's got to have his off time. Maybe he's sleeping then. Who knows? It's sort of like, what do vampires do during the day? Well, they sleep, It's sort of like, I don't know. It's sort of a weird question, because it's like, well, who cares, I guess he's planning. He's coming up with inventive forms to take and nightmares to use. That's probably what he's doing. Mr. Lover of Ganja says, have you ever seen a comment so dumb that you almost broke your nose face palming? That was how I responded to someone saying Karl Marx invented racism. Karl Marx invented racism? Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I have. I have seen comments that make me wonder if that person would fail the Turing test. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you any, but just pick any old video of mine and look at the comments and just, take your pick. So there you go. Let's see. The 7K production says, some people don't get the point. You are an asshole, but that's why we watch you. I'm not an asshole. Fuck you, dude. Shithead. I mean, I get what he's saying. I was saying it last episode that I sometimes, if somebody says, "Oh, well, fuck you, you suck," I'll give it back to him twice as hard. Doesn't mean I'm an asshole. It just means I don't take shit from people. I'm sorry. I can barely read your comment because your grammar is so bad. I wish I could, but it's just my brain's shutting down, so I have to move on. I'm sorry. I know you're trying to be nice, but I can't read that. Let's see. Dimebag Zombie has left a lengthy comment. Hey, Necro, I know that last couple of times I posted it's been pretty inconsequential questions, only relevant in the eyes of a Bormanite such as myself. However, here's a couple that will actually help me out, if you say so. Number 1, my laptop has pretty much bitten the dust and crashes when I watch a video, so I've been a PlayStation 3 YouTube watcher for the past month or so. What brand or model would you recommend? I'm looking between Asus, Lenovo, Vaio, Acer, and Samsung. Advice, please. Well, I wouldn't recommend any of them because I always say the best computer is the computer that you build yourself, or at least have somebody custom build it for you. So I honestly, I don't know. I don't do laptops. I do desktops anyway. So any advice I give you on laptops is probably going to be bad advice. But I always say just build it, and if you can't build it, have someone build it for you. That way you know what parts you're getting and there's no surprises. Number 2, will Chronicles of a Dark Lord ever come to PSN or Xbox Live Arcade? I'm really interested in the game, but I've never quite been compelled to play on a PC. Well, you could use a controller. Absolutely. Xbox Live Arcade, definitely. We're working on it. PlayStation Network, not for a while, if at all, because it's very expensive, the licensing. Number 3, what mode of execution would you most recommend for this piece of shit that won't let me watch your videos without crashing 3 minutes into them? A death by paper cut. Why not? Number 4, do you follow Mike Judge's directorial work? Office Space and Extract are both awesome. Yeah, I haven't seen Extract, but Office Space is one of my favorite movies, and I also saw Idiocracy, which is really good, and very obscure, though, but very good. Number 5, are there any plans on when the next season will kick off? I already went over that, so I'm going to move on. Kakarot1436 says, which Mario Kart is your favorite? Oh, well, that's an interesting one, because he's not asking me which is the best, he's asking me which is my favorite. Because the best one's definitely the DS one, but the favorite will always, for me, always be Mario Kart 64. Because I just play the hell out of it, Solo 2.0 says, laughing my ass off, I love your answer to my Eminem question, but okay, cool, can't make you like him. No, you certainly can't. Jazzmaster909 says, hey Necro, good episode as always. Now on to my question. When did you first get into heavy metal, and how did your parents feel about it? I guess I was about 12 or 13, and my parents couldn't give a shit. They like a lot of... Well, my mom likes a lot of metal anyway, so... I've gotten way more into it. Like, I'll listen to, like, the death metal and the black metal that they won't, but a lot of there's a lot of overlap, you know. John Early says, I don't know if you ever saw Patriot Games in Clear and Present Danger, Necro, but I did a while. I agree with other people that Ford's casting might not have been ideal. Dude, what are you talking about? What does this have to do with anything? I'm going to read this, but I don't know where this is. This is left field. Might not have been ideal. Jack Ryan's a 30-something-year-old character, and Harrison was in his 50s at the time. I do believe that they could have done much, much worse than Harrison Ford. And it was basically a case of Alec Baldwin dropping out and Harrison Ford becoming available because Ford dropped out of a different production at Paramount. What does this have to do with anything? Alright, I'm going to move on. He continues to talk about movies that... I honestly, I really don't know why you're talking about this. I'm just... Oh my god, this keeps going on and on. Wow. You didn't have a question, you just felt like talking about Batman and the two Jack Ryan. Alright, I'm going to move on. Jim Boinglet says, does your dad cook? Not really. No. I mean, he can make, like... When I was growing up, you know, my mom cooked. And, my mom is a passable cook. But, you know, both of my parents worked. And there were times before my mother got a job that was at the same place that my father worked at, and that she had that job for years and years and years. She was going from job to job and, you know, looking for the right fit. And at one point she was working nights, and my dad had to cook, and it was like cereal or peanut butter and jelly or scrambled eggs. You know, that was dinner. You know, so that's like the extent of his cooking. You know. So not really, no. Nacuus says, hey Necro, what is your favorite sport and team? I was surprised that you like rap or hip hop, and you were right about that guy, Necro. He's the shit. And also, if you didn't say fuck off or do funny shit like that, I would not sub to you, so keep it up. You know, I think everybody is taking the rap and hip hop thing way out of proportion. It's not anywhere near a favorite type of music for me. Very rarely listen to it, but I do enjoy some of it. Occasionally. Favorite sport, football. Favorite team. Right now, it's probably the Giants. It shifts, you know. Oh, that's it. I'm gonna move on. Splashfire0x says, is Earthbound the reason you don't take RPG requests? I don't take RPG requests because RPGs take a while to get into and to show the gameplay and everything, and especially early on when I first started and I could only do videos up to 10 minutes long. I mean, if I would get a request for like Final Fantasy VI or something, what could I show? You know, the first 10 minutes, the intro. You know, you're not really showing anything. You're not really showing the game. It doesn't give much opportunity to be funny. And most RPGs that I would like to play on the channel are planned to do as full playthroughs. So that's why I don't take requests for RPGs. Hans Fartknocker says, what are some of your favorite action RPGs? What are some of your favorite Star Trek episodes? Well, the Star Trek thing I didn't even want to get into because it's a long discussion. I mean, I did do the top 7 Next Generation episodes, so you might want to check that out on the channel. Favorite action RPGs? There's the Zelda series. There's the Ys series. You know, there's those off the top of my head. Also, to a much lesser extent, there's the Mana series. I think those kind of like started out good, but got worse as it went along. Yeah, that's certainly more than enough, though. I'm gonna move on. 6 Doom 6 Trooper 6 says, what is or will be the best version of Chronicles of a Dark Lord Episode 1? The definitive version that we've released. We will probably release it again for Xbox Live, and it will be, you know, it will have some extra stuff, obviously, but for now, that's the best version. I mean, there'll be very little difference with the Xbox version. It might be like just a few graphics changed here and there. Mr. Undercover Jesus says, if a flabbity flab could wacka wacka gumbo chops, could a samba bamba yabba dabba scooby dooby doo. What are you, Bill Cosby? I'm gonna move on. Well, they've been on the hot pudding and the bit and the bop and the skitty bop and the jello pudding. You know what I'm saying? You see? Alright. Okay, Prince Boo 85. I don't understand your. I really, really didn't understand your comment. It says, you know what? Subscription time. So who's first on the chopping block? Okay, subscription number 1, NecroVMX. Subscription number 2, General 2, Kira, and that's it. That was an anticlimax. And from what I could tell, he was basically just posting that he was subscribing to me and some other guy. Okay, thanks. Future Gamer 24 says, are you getting a Wii U? Absolutely. Probably not on right away, but yeah, definitely. And Niddlebuck, what happened to episode 12? Nothing happened. You're listening to it now. What do you... I mean, I can't take a week off and people flip out. Thought I missed it, but all right. You're listening to it now. Nothing happened to it. Jesus fuck. Okay, well, that's it for questions and comments. It was quite a lot this week. Wow. Whew, it's 40 minutes into the show. I do have a guest, and then I got to get through the news. The news, not a lot of news, but what I do have to talk about is very, very cool. So we'll get to that. But let's get our guest in here. His name is Hellphone. Let's bring him in here. All right, I'm going to welcome Hellphone to the VMX show. How you doing?
Hey, man. I'm okay. How about you?
Where are you calling me from? You're from, what is this, somewhere in South America?
Well, I was in Venezuela last week, but right now I'm in Guatemala.
Oh, Guatemala. Okay. All right, and what did you want to talk about today?
Well, I want to talk about mechanics of in-games lately.
Okay.
I feel like lately they are all the same, and they are not trying to push new stuff like back in the old days.
How do you figure? Because I see innovation everywhere.
Well, you can call it innovation, but I feel like, the simplicity of back then was pushing people to do stuff more relevant, like, new ways to put cameras, instead of just having the best graphics ever.
Well, I mean, certainly there's some games that are put out just to showcase technology, but that's not the bulk of what we're looking at.
Well, name me a AAA game lately that does more than that.
Any of them. I mean, because they wouldn't sell if they were just graphics.
No, I mean, they are not just graphics, but
No.
You can put them together in the same group. Like, for example, let's say Sleeping Dogs, same as Grand Theft Auto. Let's say any first-person shooter that reminds you somehow to a war, they go straight right to call it Call of Duty, and so on. I feel like lately.
So what do you? Okay, let's use the first-person shooter as an example. What are you looking for in a first-person shooter that would change it?
Well, I remember this one is a game. Borderlands, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That game, I feel like it was quite different because it wasn't just about shooting. It was about knowing your weapon, about knowing that it will be different every time you change it, that you might not even have any chance at all to get the weapon exactly how you want, and you had to adapt with what you get rather than just,
Okay, so there you just gave yourself an example, and but that's not an old game. As a matter of fact, Borderlands 2 is coming out very soon.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think that every game it's a showcase, but I mean that it's way, way, way less often to see new games lately that do the same thing that in the old days it was quite common.
Well, what era are you talking about? The old days?
Past middle, no, for early 90s.
The early 90s? Well, everything was a platformer. I mean, you could simplify it to that. You could simplify it to everything was like you could say, oh look, Sonic the Hedgehog is just like Mario, and Donkey Kong Country is just like Mario, and then all the RPGs are the same. I mean, you could say that about any era. You go back a little further, and you could say everything is a space shooter. I think that when you subject yourself to the most popular games, they do all start to sound the same, but you just gave yourself the example of Borderlands. That's not an old game.
Yeah.
That's not an old game.
You're right about that.
And I mean, just in the realm, just in FPSs alone, I mean, in the past few years, you've had the BioShock games that changed things up quite a lot.
Yeah.
You had, oh hell, what was
Fallout.
Well, that's more of an RPG, but that is another thing.
Well,
You never would have seen an RPG crossing over with that kind of gameplay in the past, so that's another innovative idea.
yeah.
So, I do see, I am part of the industry. I do see innovation everywhere. Like, that is a perfect example, actually, Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. If you were to tell somebody from 10 years ago that there would be a game with the gameplay of like a Halo or a Call of Duty or a Duke Nukem or whatever, but it's an RPG, that, the closest thing they would have had was Hexen, but then you said, well, but it's not fantasy setting. It's a realistic setting. So it's kind of, they are coming up with new ideas.
Really, Exxon was somehow RPG. I don't remember being that RPG.
Hexen, well, it wasn't like what Fallout was, but Hexen had, you played as a fighter, you played as a mage, you played as and you had stats and everything. So yeah, there was that element to it, but that was the closest they came to mixing those two styles.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Well, I guess you're right. And I think maybe I'm just being too close at mind about stuff and not trying too much to see this new stuff, right?
You also have to remember that there's more to the realm of gaming than just the AAA titles. There is a huge amount.
True.
There's a huge amount of lower budget titles. There's indie titles. I always said, I've been saying for a while, we are in the golden age of independent gaming.
That is so true. From Bastion to,
Yeah.
Super Meat Boy.
Yeah, well, Bastion and Super Meat Boy are examples of indie games that were created by very small groups that became huge success, and I mean, just think of like the people who made Super Meat Boy and every single game that they put out is a hit now.
That is so true. That is so true. Maybe you're right. I'm too close-minded on this matter. Maybe I'm quite upset because I feel like Borderlands 2, it's not adding anything at all. I feel like just new classes, well, that could be a download content.
Yeah, but if you liked Borderlands, aren't you gonna like it again? Because I mean, there seems to be this mentality that some people have that every sequel has to be like a brand new thing and has to add a whole bunch of new features. I'm going to go back to the late 80s and the early 90s and talk about Mega Man for a second. Mega Man 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all came out rapid fire on the NES. They all used the same Mega Man sprite. They never once changed his sprite. They would improve on the background graphics and some of the designs and everything, but they never gave any more detail to Mega Man. They kept the same basic gameplay, and then, it was only when they jumped to Super NES and PlayStation that they made it look better. And then, the retro gaming phase started coming, and then you had Mega Man 9 and 10, which went back to that old 8-bit style. And, nobody was claiming, oh, it's just the same thing, Mega Man, it's just the new levels, I'm so tired of it. Everybody was eating it up because that's what you want in a sequel. If you want something new, then get a new game. Don't get something that's like part 2 or part 5, you know what I mean? Yeah,
you're right. I don't know. Still, I feel like they could do a lot more better with Borderlands 2.
Well, part of the issue is that Borderlands is lucky to get a sequel at all because it wasn't exactly a hit.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. So they probably have a lower budget this time.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, speaking about Borderlands, when you was talking about Hexen, I remember being a kid and that game really freaked me out back then.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I was like 7 years old.
Oh, well.
So I was quite impressible.
Yeah, that would do it. Hexen is a little... I actually like the previous one, Heretic, a lot better.
Yeah?
Well, when it comes to first-person shooters, I want action. I want to shoot things. I don't want to flip switches for 3 hours.
I think you don't really like Half-Life, right?
Oh, I don't like Half-Life at all, no.
Yeah.
No, I have the first Half-Life, and I played through about 2/3 of it, and I was like, when is this gonna, get good?
There are parts of action that they even feel like next to impossible. When you got those huge monsters there, and you have like
Yeah, but it was so rare. So much of it was just like jumping across things or crawling under things or breaking things with your crowbar. You know what I mean? It was dull to me. I didn't enjoy that one.
well, that's okay. I
Yeah.
guess it's not a game for everyone.
No, no. Well, there's no such thing as a. I think the only game for everyone is Tetris.
No, even so, I've heard of people that say that they don't like it.
They're sociopaths.
Well, maybe.
Yeah. You gotta watch people who don't like Tetris. You gotta watch the serial killers or something. I'm telling you, something wrong with them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's just people that they don't like games at all. But even then, you show them that, and they say that it doesn't have a point. Why would you do that? You know.
Okay. So, anything else then that you wanted to talk about?
Well, speaking about RPGs, you think they could mix it up with some other genre than just FPS? I mean,
Well, I kind of got. Okay, did you play Final Fantasy 13?
no, not really.
Okay, well, that one I felt that had a lot of influences from a lot of different genres. Like, there was this one mechanic that was very used where after you stunned an enemy, you would launch them up into the air where they would be helpless, and then your character would jump up into the air and like do like a whole combo. And I was like, well, I've seen that before. I've seen that in fighting games like Marvel vs. Capcom, where you would launch a character up into the air and then perform like an aerial combo. So I felt that there was an influence from fighting games in there. And RPGs are sort of, the definition of it is very loose. Any kind of game can really be an RPG. You could do, some sports games are practically RPGs these days because of the amount of management and detail and everything, and you have a whole career that you go through. So it's kind of crazy. And of course, I do still like the most traditional type, the fantasy RPGs. But yeah, I think that basically that's a genre that you can mix with just about anything because it's less of a genre itself and more of a trait.
Well, yeah, it's more even. I will dare to call it even like a sort of a type of mechanics on in games.
Yeah.
For example, I wouldn't. I can't really think a way to call Skyrim in other way than that FPS-ish thing with just
Skyrim?
million. Yeah.
Where do you get FPS in Skyrim?
Well, I mean first person.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Really.
first-person RPGs are not anything new. They've been doing that since the very beginning with games like Ultima. That whenever you would go into the dungeon, it would be in a first-person view.
Yeah. However, I don't. Well, I mean, when I think about RPGs, I think about playing by turns.
Yeah, but it didn't start out that way.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't start out that way because Ultima was an action-based game. Ys was an action-based game. Hydlide was an action-based game. A lot of the Dungeons and Dragons games on PC, because this all goes back to the PC games in the mid '80s. They were action-based.
Never thought about it.
Yeah, as a matter of fact. Really, you're talking about the turn-based RPGs. I think that, it was kind of Dragon Quest that sort of popularized that whole system of doing it based on turns.
However, I feel like people think about RPGs as well as playing by turns. That's like the most common way to view RPGs.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely the most common. It's not the only way, but it's the most common way. Yeah.
Yeah. Besides, I mean, games like Final Fantasy, for example, are just in that way. And the ones that dare to go around that, I feel like they didn't do the same good.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Oh, sorry, maybe I'm rambling about Final Fantasy. I'm still pissed about them and the story and all that. But
what are you pissed about?
Well, I don't really like how they are taking the storyline on the game. Regardless, it's not that connected anyway.
It's not connected at all.
Yeah, I know, but that's exactly my point. I feel like they are doing Family Guy style, where nothing has to do with anything except that they are in the same universe.
No, they're not even in the same universe.
Well,
They're not. They're not on the same planet. Think about.
damn.
Think about. I mean, think about just what they call the planet in each game. It's usually something completely different.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, you have worlds where it's medieval magic, that kind of stuff, and then you have like Final Fantasy VI, which was kind of like turn of the century industrial revolution, and then you have Final Fantasy VII, which was like futuristic, and 8 was kind of a mishmash, and then 9 was fantasy again. And then they started mixing it up. I mean, finally, the reason that this happened, and I do know all about the history of the series, is because Squaresoft was very close to going out of business, and they were putting all of their money into a game called Holy Sword Legend, which got canceled. And eventually they would release a version of it later on, but it got canceled at the time. And they were really in a lot of financial trouble, and they put all the remaining assets into another RPG that was going to be a simpler one, because Holy Sword Legend was supposed to be this very epic, very complicated game, and they decided to do a simpler one. And the guy who created it, Hironobu Sakaguchi, called it Final Fantasy because he figured it would be his final game. So he's kind of joking around with that. But when it became a hit, he had never thought that there might be a part 2, so he ended it in a way that there couldn't be a sequel. So they said, all right, we'll just do a completely different story in a completely different world and call it Final Fantasy II, and that sort of started the tradition. The Final Fantasy series is kind of unique in that sense that it's really kind of unfair to compare them to each other in that way, because they really are each their own thing. And some of them, like 4 and 7 and 13, have become their own series.
Yeah.
There was a sequel to 4, there was a sequel to 7, and then a prequel to 7, and there's been a sequel to 13 and another sequel to 13 on the way. There's been a sequel to 10, you know what I mean? Because think of just the mechanic of that in the mind of the person who's coming up with these. Final Fantasy X-2, wouldn't that be 11? No, because 11 is a completely different entity.
Yeah, that's exactly what annoys me. I don't know if it's just not for me, but I feel like when games have sequels, they have to be connected. I don't know. It's just me, maybe.
Well, it's kind of amusing because you started off with the complaint that they're a series that just do the same thing over and over again, and then the complaint is about Final Fantasy that they're doing something different with each.
Well,
so you got
I'm talking about here about storyline, not mechanics.
Well, if they tried to do each game as being a continuation of the first one, it wouldn't have lasted. You wouldn't have had 14 games.
That is true. That is true.
Because how often do you want to go back to that same world?
Yeah.
I mean, even RPG series that do connect to each other, they tend to be loosely connected. Look at Zelda. It's each one, they take place in the same world, but they're hundreds of years apart, usually a completely different map or something. And they don't worry too much about the story. They're just worrying about, making a good game.
Actually, I think they don't even care about their storyline.
Well, they do now because the fans do so much. But I think in the beginning you would have been right that they were just kind of making it up as they go along, and they didn't care about the story so much, and that they were worrying about each one as a separate entity. Now I think they give it a little more thought just because the fans are so into the whole story.
Yeah, well, I guess I don't know how will they connect, Zelda 2 and A Link to the Past.
Well, I did a whole video on that.
Yeah, I remember.
The clearing confusion.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
You should do something like that more often.
Yeah, well, I did 30 episodes of Clearing Confusion, so...
I bet you got tired.
No, I just ran out of things to talk about. I got another series coming up that's going to be a little bit similar. But we're running out of time here, so anything you wanted to say before it gets into news?
Well, no, not really. Okay.
Okay. All right, well, it was good talking to you.
Nice to hear you.
All right, and we'll probably have you on sometime in the future. But this is the last episode of the season, so...
Oh, what an honor.
Yeah, it's episode 12, so... Everybody, if you want to be on the show, you got to wait a couple of weeks.
Nice.
All right. Well, we'll see you. Your what's your YouTube channel? Why don't you go ahead and plug that?
Well, I don't have one.
Okay.
Thanks anyway.
Okay. All right. Well, never mind that then. Is there anything you do want to plug, like a website or a...
No, not really. I used to do something on Steam, but it doesn't matter now.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been Hellphone up on the VMX show, and we'll see you.
Thanks, man.
Okay, so I want to once again thank Hellphone for coming by the show and talk to me. It was certainly interesting. If you want to be on the show, well, we're not doing the show until January, but if you want to be on it, you got to get on Skype. You got to talk to me there. I'll say it again. That's how it works. But there you go. I'll probably have a guest lined up myself for the first episode of Season 7, and then past then we'll give you further instructions on how you could be on the show. But anyway, let's get to the news. I got not a lot to get through, but a lot to talk about, since these are really big stories. Of course, my top story for this week is the big Nintendo announcement. And I am, of course, talking about the announcement of the release details of the next Nintendo console, which is called Wii U. And we now have release dates, prices, SKUs, and everything. So I'm going to let you know what's going on here now. Firstly, the most important thing is the release date. The Wii U will launch in North America. It will be available on November 18th. If you're in Europe or Australia, you have to wait until November 30th, and in Japan, it will be released on December 8th. I think it's actually pretty amusing that we're getting it way before, more than a month before Japan, but Nintendo's sort of been doing that lately. I don't know why, but hey, I'm not complaining about it. Definitely not. But that is the big deal. Like I said, Nintendo launching the Wii U in America on November 18th, 2012, just in time for the holiday season. Now, of course, the next big question is, how much is this thing going to cost me? Well, I can tell you that it's very, very affordable. There is two models, the Wii U Basic and the Wii U Deluxe. The Wii U Basic, and actually, before I tell you the prices, let me tell you what you're getting with these systems. Okay, so here's what you're getting with this Basic box. That's what it's called, Wii U Basic box. And with this, you're getting the actual system with 8 gigabytes of internal storage, one Wii U gamepad controller, an HDMI cable, a Wii sensor bar, because you'll be able to use your Wiimotes, the Wii controller, so they're giving you another sensor bar, and of course AC adapters for both the console and the gamepad. So there you go, and that will cost you $300, $299.99, $300 for the basic Wii U. Now, a lot of people are saying that the 8 gigabytes is not exactly a whole hell of a lot, mostly because they're thinking in terms of like the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, where if you get like the 20 gig Xbox 360, it's not a whole hell of a lot of space and it runs out fast. But keep in mind that you're likely, they're not going to be installing games, you know what I mean? So 8 gigabytes will be sufficient. If you want something more, there's the premium, and this is the black console. The white console is the regular basic, and the black is the deluxe, the premium set. And this has the black Wii U system with 32 gigabytes of internal storage. You get a black gamepad, an HDMI cable, a Wii sensor bar, AC adapters, plus the game Nintendo Land, which is their mini game collection. You'll also get a docking cradle for the gamepad so that you could use it wirelessly, and a vertical stand for the system, and something, it says it's a deluxe digital promotion, which apparently will have something to do with the eShop purchases. So basically it's like a rebate sort of thing. So there you go. Japan is not getting the sensor bar, and Europe, it's only in the premium box. In America, the sensor bar is coming with both of them. So, and that's cost $350. So, I think these prices are very solid. I mean, $300 is about the average price for a new console when it comes out. And it usually drops later on, of course, but that's pretty good. And then the premium one being only $350. Considering that it comes with a game, it has 3 times as much storage, 4 times as much storage, actually. And, a few other bells and whistles, so that's pretty cool. So November 18th, you'll get this. Now, of course, the third question is, what are the launch titles? Now, of course, the definition of launch title has definitely changed over the years. It used to be that a launch title were the games that came out on the same day as the console. And lately, there's been the launch window, which is usually about a month or 2 after the console comes out. But there are a lot of launch window games. There are a lot, and I do mean a lot of launch window games. But people want to know, if they're going to go on November 18th to pick up a Wii U, what games will be available, the actual launch titles. And it's usually only around 2 to 5 games. So you want to know, what games are going to be available if you go on November 18th to pick it up. What games can you get? And I can tell you quite a few, actually. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games will be available on the 18th to pick from. So let me list those. These are the games that if you go on the 18th of November to pick up your Wii U, these are the games that will be available in the stores. So let me get through these. One of them will be Nintendo Land, which actually comes with the black version of the console. So if you're getting the premium one, you'll get Nintendo Land anyway. New Super Mario Bros. U will be available at launch. Disney's Epic Mickey 2, The Power of Two. Call of Duty Black Ops 2. The Wonderful 101. Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, Madden NFL 13, Zombie U, Tank Tank Tank, Mass Effect 3 Special Edition, Just Dance 4, FIFA Soccer 13, Darksiders 2, and Assassin's Creed 3. Those are the launch titles. Now, on the 18th, 2 days later, on the 28th, the 20th, what's wrong with me today? Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transform will be released, and then here are the rest of the games that are coming out in the launch window, which is a hazy sort of month or 2 after the system comes out. We will see the release of 007 Legends, Batman Arkham City Armored Edition, Ben 10 Omniverse, Cabela's Dangerous Hunt 2013, ESPN Sports Connection, Family Party 30 Great Games Obstacle Arcade, Funky Barn, Game Party Champions, Game & Wario, Jeopardy, Jet Tailfin, Marvel Avengers Battle for Earth, NBA 2K13, Rabbids Land, Rapala Pro Bass Fishing, Rise of the Guardians the video game, Scribblenauts Unlimited, Sing Party, Skylanders Giants, Warrior Orochi 3 Hyper, Wheel of Fortune, Wii Fit U, Wipeout 3, Your Shape Fitness Evolve 2013, and Zumba Fitness Center. Oh, and also Tekken Tag Tournament 3. I almost missed that one. So those are all coming out in the launch window. Now, there was also 2 games I might mention, Lego City Undercover and Lego Lord of the Rings, the video game. They're not listed as being in the launch window, but they are listed as being coming out before the end of the year. So there is that. Anything else is to be announced, which probably means 2013. But that is what's going on. Now, as for download software, we do have, let's see, I just want to make sure I'm only talking about the ones that are coming out in America. Okay. All right. Trying to Director's Cut will be available as a downloadable title at launch. So there is that. Oh, yeah, that's NTSC. Okay. In the launch window, you'll also be able to get Bit Trip Presents Runner 2 Future Legend of Rhythm Alien, Nano Assault Neo, and Tokitori 2. And before the end of 2012, there's also be Cloudberry Kingdom, Chasing Aurora, and Mighty Switch Force HD. Anything else is to be announced. So there you go. So that's the big Wii U news. Let's also one of the big games that was announced. We don't have any kind of release date for. They only showed the teaser trailer. Was Bayonetta 2? Bayonetta 2 is on the way, and this will be a Wii U exclusive. It will not be coming out for any other consoles, at least not initially. You know, sometimes exclusives can turn into timed exclusives as time goes by. Think of Resident Evil 4, for example, was originally a GameCube exclusive, and then eventually it came out for PlayStation 2 and PC. So, and a lot of people are kind of upset because Bayonetta 2 was on 360 and PS3, and the sequel's on Wii U only. So, if you know, oh, we have to buy a new system and this and that. But the fact is that nobody wanted to publish the game, nobody wanted to finance it. So, if it wasn't for Nintendo, this game wouldn't be getting made at all. So, there you go. So, yeah, that's all the Wii. Well, actually, it's not all the Wii U news, but that's all the big announcement Wii U news. I do have some other stuff to talk about. Ubisoft, who have been criticized heavily for their always-on DRM, apparently is going to stop doing that. They are not going to be doing that. So, according to Stephanie Perotti, and she is the company's worldwide director for online games, she says now Ubisoft PC games will require a one-time online activation when you first install the game, and from then you're free to play the game offline. Click pause. So those of you who were concerned about that, future PC releases from Ubisoft will not have the always-on DRM. It looks like they've heard the complaints, they've heard the criticisms, and they're saying, fuck it. Fuck it. If you guys were interested in the Eco and Shadow of the Colossus re-release, the collections, and also the God of War HD collections, of course these are all already released for PlayStation 3, well, I can now tell you that due to the connections, the remote play between the Vita and the PlayStation 3, you can now play these games on the Vita, if you get the remote play patch for God of War and Eco Shadow of the Colossus collection, which you can download from Sony's store. So there you go. There you go. So that's pretty cool. Handheld Eco, handheld Shadow of the Colossus, handheld God of War 1, 2, and 3 on the Vita. Very, very cool stuff. Steam Greenlight. Let's say we got Chronicles of a Dark Lord Episode 1 Tides of Fate definitive version on there just in time, because after Valve had been absolutely deluged with joke submissions and troll submissions and bullshit submissions, they have decided they're going to have to stem the tide to this by having a sign-up fee. So now, if you want to get your game on Steam Greenlight, it will cost $100. So and they don't keep this. Apparently, this goes straight to Child's Play Charity, which is run by the Penny Arcade folks. So there you have it. They're not looking to make money off of it. They're just looking to stop the tide of bullshit, you know. So they get less people submitting things like Half-Life 3, which I think is pretty funny. But there you go. The Tokyo Game Show is coming up. And we know that Dragon Quest X has been out in Japan for a few weeks now. Not exactly doing too great. I mean, it's doing good as far as a Wii game is concerned, but it's not doing good as far as a Dragon Quest game is, because it's a fucking MMO. But the Wii U version of Dragon Quest X will be shown at the Tokyo Game Show. No news yet on if either version will come to America. Personally, I don't care. It's an MMO, you know. One game that will not be shown at the Tokyo Game Show is The Last Guardian, which is the latest from Team Ico. And despite everybody pretty much sighing and saying, yeah, it's probably canceled at this point, Sony is still insisting that the game is in development. So that's what's going on there. I do have another big news story about Final Fantasy. Actually, this was going to be my top story until Nintendo kind of stole the spotlight from Square Enix in this case, but I have more details on the next sequel to Final Fantasy XIII. It is not called Final Fantasy XIII-3, but the full title of it is Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII. I have no news on release dates or anything like that, but I can tell you a little bit about the gameplay. It's going to be more action-based, but still having the ATB, so I guess it's sort of a cooldown period for certain attacks or whatever. And it actually the setup of it kind of reminds me a little bit of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, actually. And some people are saying that there's elements of Mass Effect in there, although I felt there was a slight Mass Effect influence in Final Fantasy XIII too. a lot of people are saying that it's more pronounced in this one. It is going to be open world. There's going to be lots of side quests and moral choices and things, but there is a time limit. The world will end in 13 days, and certain actions that you do will speed up time, slow down time, reverse time, give you more time, give you less time, and so there you go. Not really too much news other than you will only be controlling one character, which will be Lightning. It's not going to be party based, which will lend itself more to the action sort of gameplay that they're going to be having here. So that's some pretty interesting news coming out of Square Enix for Final Fantasy XIII. The full title, Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII. No news on Final Fantasy Versus 13. You know, everybody, it's sort of like The Last Guardian. Everybody's pretty much resigned themselves to the fact that the game is probably canceled, but Square Enix insists it is still in development. So, you know, there you go. And it has been confirmed that this will be released for both the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. So there you have it. Now, I want to talk very briefly again about the Wii U, or use it as a segue, rather. Of course, the Wii U is coming out on November 18th, and I think most of you who are going to get it are probably going to go to GameStop. At least those of you who live in America. Outside the country, you might go to other stores, but GameStop is the largest game retailer, that, you know, a game specialty retailer. So of course you got to think of the logistics of it. They're having a new system, new stock, something's got to give. So at many GameStop locations, they are going to stop selling PlayStation 2 stuff. So the PlayStation 2, it's been 10 years, you know, but they are finally going to be phasing out the PlayStation 2. Now, apparently, this is happening mostly on the coasts of the United States, the East Coast and the West Coast. They're removing the PlayStation 2 so that they can make room for Wii U stock. Here's the interesting thing, though. Apparently, there are some locations where they will keep PlayStation 2 stock and continue to accept trades and whatnot for PlayStation 2, because there are certain areas where the PlayStation 2 is, as they say, very profitable in certain areas. So that's what's going on there. But if you don't know, I mean, you might want to actually ask your GameStop people if they're going to still have PlayStation 2 stuff if you're interested in it, and if they're saying that they're they're phasing it out, there might be some interesting sales. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. G4 Tech TV, which started off as the video game cable network and quickly became the bullshit cable network that occasionally talks about video games, is now going to be completely phasing out their video game coverage. They show mostly cops at this point anyway, but there you I mean, you know, it's become basically like the second version of Spike TV. You know, there's been a lot of sports, reality TV, non-tech stuff, a lot of cops, as I mentioned, but they're going to be officially ending all coverage of video games, so that's what's going on there. Not really broken up about that. I never watched it, but there you have it. I mentioned the Neo Geo X. I don't know if it was last time or if it was before that, but I have mentioned it's a portable Neo Geo that's coming out. Remember, I told you what games it's bundled with and everything. Well, if you're wondering about the price, I can now tell you the Neo Geo X will be sold for $130 as a standalone device, and it's coming out this December. There will also be a $200 version, which is the Neo Geo X Gold, that will have a charging dock and a joystick. So there you go. And it comes with 20 classic Neo Geo titles. I believe I listed them last time, so I'm not going to bother doing that again. So I'm just going to move on. My last thing was about Bayonetta 2. I already talked about that. So that's actually my last news story. But before I end the show with the sales figures as I normally do, since this is the last episode of the season and the last episode of the year, since I'm not going to be doing anything in terms of VMX show until January, I wanted to go over video game releases for the rest of the year. So this being September 16th, I'm going to continue from now on. Actually, Kirby's Dream Collection for Wii did release today, so there's that. On September 18th, we'll see the release of Borderlands 2 for Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360, F1 2012 for Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360, and Jet Set Radio HD for PlayStation Network. And by the way, keep in mind, this is not a definitive list. There might be other games that haven't been announced or haven't had definitive release dates, or release dates may change. So take this as a loose guideline. On the 19th, Jet Set Radio HD will be hitting Windows and Xbox Live Arcade. On September 20th, Torchlight 2 will finally make it to Windows and Mac. On the 25th, a whole bunch of stuff coming out. Angry Birds Trilogy is hitting the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and 3DS. Dead or Alive 5 is hitting PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Family Guy Back to the Multiverse is hitting PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. FIFA 13 is hitting Windows, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, Wii, PS Vita, PSP, and iOS devices. Little Big Planet PS Vita is hitting the PS Vita. Marvel vs. Capcom Origins is hitting PlayStation Network. One Piece Pirate Warriors is hitting PlayStation 3. Pro Evolution Soccer 2013 will be released for Windows, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii, PlayStation Vita, PlayStation Portable, PlayStation 2, and 3DS. That may be one of the last PlayStation 2 games. The Testament of Sherlock Holmes will be released for Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. Tokyo Jungle will be released for PlayStation Network. And World of Warcraft Mists of Pandaria will be released for Windows and Mac. So September 25th, very big day for gaming. September 26th, we'll see the release of Marvel vs. Capcom Origins for Xbox Live Arcade. September 27th, we'll see the release of Half Minute Hero for Windows. And on the 28th, we'll see the release of Euro Truck Simulator 2 for Windows. Moving on to October. October 2nd, Carrier Command Gaia Mission is coming for Windows and Xbox 360. NBA 2K13 is coming for Windows, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, PlayStation Portable, and Wii. Resident Evil 6 is coming to PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. And War of the Roses is coming to Windows. October 7th, we'll see the release of Pokemon Black 2 and Pokemon White 2 for the DS. October 9th, we'll see the release of Code of Princess for the 3DS, Dishonored for Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360, Fable the Journey for Xbox 360, Just Dance 2 for Wii, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360, and XCOM Enemy Unknown for Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. October 16th, we'll see the release of 007 Legends for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Windows. Rocksmith will be coming to Windows. Dance Central 3 will be coming to Xbox 360. Doom 3 BFG Edition will be coming to Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. Dragon Ball Z for Kinect will be coming to the Xbox 360. And Roller Coaster Tycoon 3D will be coming to the 3DS. On October 21st, Michael Jackson The Experience will be coming to Mac, and Skylanders Giants will be coming to Windows, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii, and 3DS. The Wii U version is, of course, coming out when that comes out. On the 23rd, Forza Horizon will be coming to Xbox 360. Killzone HD will be coming to PlayStation Network. Medal of Honor Warfighter will be hitting Windows, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and there will be a Wii U version of that on the way. Persona 4 Golden will be coming to PlayStation Vita. Street Fighter Cross Tekken will be also coming to the Vita. Zero Escape Virtue's Last Reward will be coming to the 3DS and the Vita. On October 28th, Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask will be coming to the 3DS. On October 30th, Assassin's Creed 3 will be coming to PlayStation and Xbox 360. Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation will be coming to the Vita. Need for Speed Most Wanted will be coming to Windows, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3. Sports Champions 2 will be coming to PlayStation 3. WWE 13 will be coming to PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and the Wii. And Lego The Lord of the Rings, the video game, will be coming to PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii, Vita, 3DS, DS, and Windows. Moving on to November, Halo 4 will be released on the 6th. That's coming to Xbox 360. Also Harvest Moon, A New Beginning for 3DS. Little Big Planet Karting for PlayStation 3, and Rayman Origins for the 3DS. On November 9th, we have Dragon Ball Z Budokai HD Collection for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Paper Mario Sticker Star on the 11th will be coming to the 3DS. On the 13th, we have Adventure Time Hey Ice King, Why'd You Steal Our Garbage? That's coming to the 3DS and the DS. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 will be released for Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. Rift Storm Legion will be coming to Windows, and Wonderbook will be coming to the PlayStation 3. On November 14th, Epic Mickey The Power of Illusion will be coming to the 3DS, and Epic Mickey 2 The Power of 2 will be coming to Windows, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Mac, and the Wii. November 18th, we'll see the release of the Wii U and all of the launch titles that I talked about earlier. So I'm going to be skipping a lot of the Wii U stuff because I already talked about it. On November 20th, we'll see the release of Assassin's Creed 3 for Windows, Hitman Absolution for Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale will hit PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita, and Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed will hit PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii U, 3DS, Vita, and Windows. Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition coming on the 30th for Windows and Mac. I don't have much news about what's coming in December, sorry to say, but I do know that on December 4th we'll see the release of Far Cry 3 for Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360, and on December 12th we'll see the release of Hawken, which is coming for Windows. Here's a list of games that we don't know the exact date that they're coming out, but they are planned to be released before the end of the year. The Banner Saga for Windows, Linux, Mac, and iOS devices. Batman Arkham City Armored Edition for Wii U. Bit Trip presents Runner 2 Future Legend of Rhythm Alien for PlayStation Network and Xbox Live Arcade. Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified for Vita. Cross the Dutchman for Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. Dota 2 for Windows and Mac. Dust 514 for PlayStation 3 and Vita. End of Nations for Windows. Fallen Frontier for Windows, PlayStation Network, and Xbox Live Arcade. Kingdom Under Fire 3 for Windows and PlayStation 3. Lego City Undercover for 3DS and Wii U. Mech Warrior Online for Windows. Minor Wars 2081 for Windows and Xbox Live Arcade. Ms. Splosion Man for Windows and iOS devices. Natural Selection 2 for Windows. NBA Live 13 for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Nexuiz, I don't know how to say that. Nexuiz for PlayStation Network, Nexus 2 for Windows, Ninja Gaiden 3 for Wii U. Well, actually, we know that shouldn't be in this list. That's a launch title. Oddworld Munch's Odyssey HD and Oddworld Stranger's Wrath HD. The first one for PlayStation Network and PlayStation Vita, the second only for PlayStation Vita. Of Orcs and Men for Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. Okami for PlayStation Network. Overstrike for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Phantasy Star Online 2 for Windows and iOS devices. Pinball FX 2 for Windows. Primal Carnage for Windows. Ratchet & Clank Full Frontal Assault for PlayStation Network. Rayman Legends, actually that I thought that wasn't that a launch title for Wii U? Let me look at it. I actually do have a release date. That's November 27th, launch window. Okay. Ravensdale for Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. Retro City Rampage for Windows, PlayStation Network, Xbox Live Arcade, WiiWare, and PlayStation Vita. Scrolls for Windows, Linux, and Mac. Starbound for Windows, Linux, and Mac. Tactical Invention for Windows. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Online. That's already out on Windows. It's the Wii U version. Transformers Prime, the game for Wii, NDS, that's the DS, and the 3DS. UFO 2 Extraterrestrial Shadows of Earth for Windows. Unchained Blades for 3DS. The Walking Dead Episode 4 Around Every Corner for PlayStation 3, Windows, Xbox 360, Mac, and iOS devices. Warface for Windows. World of Warplanes for Windows. X Rebirth for Windows. And Zone of the Enders HD Collection for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. So that's what's going on for the rest of the year in gaming. So, when we come back in January, we'll obviously some of that will have changed, a lot of that will have changed, but that's the guide for what's going on as of right now. So let's end out the show, as I always do, with the sales charts. So they're coming up. It's a little slow. Here we go. Okay, so here's the Japanese sales charts for the month ending in September. Listen to me, week ending in September 9th, 2012. Top selling game was New Super Mario Bros. 2. For the 3DS, which sold 38,492 copies. Lost Hero on the 3DS sold 31,939 copies. Max Payne 3 on the PlayStation 3 sold 23,443 copies. Pokemon Black and White version 2 for the DS sold 21,392 copies. Next, Hatsume Miku Project Diva for Vita that sold 17,851 copies. Lost Heroes for the PlayStation Portable sold 15,550 copies. Gekiatsu Pachi Game Tamashi Max Evangeline 7X Seme no Kodu on the PlayStation 3 sold 13,010 copies. Devil Summoner Soul Hackers on the 3DS sold 12,154 copies. Tosutsu Seiju Sakyu no Hunter Tachi Kara Nigakire, that's on the 3DS, and it sold 11,301 copies, and Dragon Quest X for the Wii sold 11,121 copies. In Europe, the top-selling game was Guild Wars 2 for PC, that sold 70,902 copies. New Super Mario Bros. 2 on the 3DS sold 56,124 copies. Sleeping Dogs for PS3 sold 22,571 copies. Sleeping Dogs for Xbox 360 sold 21,569 copies. Darksiders 2 on the PlayStation 3 sold 15,199 copies. Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS sold 13,917 copies. London 2012, the official video game of the Olympic Games, for 360 sold 13,124 copies. The PlayStation 3 version, 13,057 copies. Super Mario 3D Land on the 3DS sold 12,737 copies. And Darksiders 2 for the 360 sold 12,443 copies. Over here in the United States, the big top-selling game was Madden NFL 13 for 360. That sold 139,701 copies. The same game on PlayStation 3, 118,747 copies. New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS sold 115,696 copies. Guild Wars 2 for PC sold 85,381 copies. Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS sold 11,532 copies. Wii Sports on the Wii sold 11,283 copies. Darksiders 2 on the Xbox 360 sold 11,009 copies. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 on the 360 sold 10,621 copies. Sleeping Dogs on the 360 sold 10,330 copies. And Super Mario 3D Land on the 3DS sold 10,183 copies. Alright, so hardware. Let's see. So the top-selling console in Japan was the 3DS, that sold 60,602 units. The Vita moved 13,133 units. The PlayStation 3, 11,807 units. The PlayStation Portable, 9,147 units. The Wii, 6,028 units. The DS, 1,116 units. And the Xbox 360, 697 units. Over in Europe, the top-selling console was also the 3DS, that moved 63,246 units. The PlayStation 3 moved 50,809 units. The 360 moved 32,437 units. The Wii, 14,113 units. The Vita, 14,048 units. The DS, 7,835 units. And the PSP, 5,889 units. And in America, the top-selling console was also the 3DS. So the 3DS was the big winner this week. 62,557 of those sold. Number 2, let's see, the 360 moved 57,972 units. The PlayStation 3, 40,707 units. The Wii, 16,163 units. The DS, 13,348 units. The Vita, 10,175 units. And the PSP, 2,076 units. So that's it for the show and the season. We'll see you guys in January with more VMX show. And of course, in the interim, I'll be working on other things. Of course, there'll be features, there'll be playthroughs, there'll be all sorts of things. And hopefully we'll get this Gamers Encyclopedia thing off the ground sometime in the near future. So we'll see you then. VMX out.